Hey guys, we're back in the shop today. We've actually finished up, so I'm not going to be doing any more work on the camera. However, I figured since I was in the shop, I got a little bit of time now that I've finished up. I would go ahead and spend some time talking to you about what we're doing to get ready for spring, and specifically what we're doing to get ready for the honey flow, because that has been the focus of the last several days that we've had in the shop. I say today's been my only day in the shop. In a few weeks. I live a little bit further away, so it's more difficult for me to get over here, depending on the situation. However, we've gotten a lot of supers built up, which my dad has done the 100% of that work. He actually got those built up, and he was doing finishing touches. I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit. I'm indicating them because they're actually stacked right here. You just can't see them. But we did that, finished those up today, and then today I finished up building some frames. I've gotten our box. We've got a box that allows us to set everything up so that we can build these frames 10 at a time. And so I've set them up for the next 10 because I thought I'd show you a little bit of what that process is as well. So that's going to be right here, and we'll go through that in just a little bit also. That being said, we've got medium supers that we just built this week, and we've also got our deep supers. And I'm going to show you the difference between the two of them. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I realize I should have probably grabbed one of the deep supers. So I'm going to do that right now. There, that's now set up. Because when we talk about it, the deep versus the medium, there actually is a difference in the sizes there. You can see stethoscope over there on the wall behind me. We are not doctors. We actually use those stethoscopes, or that stethoscope, in the wintertime sometimes, so that we can press that up against, put that in our ear, press that up against the beehive, and be able to listen to the bees working inside. We want to make sure that we can hear that movement. And those babies are actually powerful enough that they'll pick that up. And so that's kind of neat. So that's what we use those for on the wall. So anyway, without further ado, we'll go ahead and look at what we've got going on. So when we're building the frames, let me get you in here and get you angled. I won't necessarily have to be on camera, and that works just fine for me. So there you go. You can see our frames there. I left one of them open so that we can kind of show you that process, okay? So we got the two sidebars. I'll grab one over here. And each frame is going to get two of our sidebars, right? So one on either side of that frame. So we set those 10 up on one side, 10 up on the other side, and we take the top bars, we put those across the top. To make it easier for us in the future, which is when we put the foundation wax in there, there's one other step that we go ahead and we take that step before putting everything together. There's this, you can see the little gap right here. There's that little strip of wood comes out, and we just take a razor blade, cut that out, because we need that later on. So we store those over there in the background. We put our top bar in, and that's that. Now we'll come along and we'll put a couple of nails in on each side of the top bar to make sure that it's held in there secure. But one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and show you the frame process. I'm not going to go do that nailing right now because, let's face it, you're hammering away. It's pretty loud, and I'm not going to do that. But I wanted you to see, because we've talked about it in the past, how sometimes you can put things together backwards or upside down. And in most cases, for instance here, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. Let me grab a couple of different pieces. So there's a top to the sidebar, and there's a bottom to the sidebar. The bottom of the sidebar, you're not going to get the top bar into. So that's only going to fit as such, okay? Same with the bottom bar. It's going to be way too loose up top. And you're going to see that. You're going to realize that, and you can make sure that you're on the right side of things, okay? So it's only going to fit properly in the bottom. But But once upon a time, I talked about how easy it is, especially when I was younger and just getting into building frames with Dad. We had to go through quite a bit and back the nails out and flip the bottom bar over, because I'm going to put these up side by side. If you can tell, one side has an angled in, it's angled in that way. That actually goes inside of the frame because the foundation wax this is just wide enough for the foundation wax to fit in to that slot, whereas the base of it doesn't have that. I mean, it's got that chip right there, but it's not angled that way. So that's the bottom. And if you're not paying attention, you can get those babies in there upside down. And if you're not paying attention, you can go ahead and get everything nailed into place and secured. And there, once upon a time, we were actually using wood glue on all that stuff. That stuff's gone. I mean, like, you're not going to get that apart very easily once you've glued it and nailed it into place. If that glue dries, so you got to be paying really close attention. And when you're doing 10 of these puppies at a time, it can still surprise you. You get into a rush, or like we do. We get out here and we get to talking and hanging out and all that kind of stuff. We're not real fast as we go through this stuff, but we're also not 100% focused on the task at hand. I don't know if you've spent any time with me in a room or watching some of these videos, but focus and eye are not two things that are very well associated with each other, right? So we get in here, we get to talking, and I've set these up so that a few of them are wrong. Now, I haven't nailed these in, and although I'm going to have to be real close, paying real close attention. Let's see, I'm going to get you off of the, oops, sorry guys. I'm going to get you off of this for just a second and see if I can't. There we go. All right, so you come along the side here, and if you're not paying attention, you see, 1, 2, 3. Those 3 right there, I put in backwards. But from a top view, you see how easy that is to mess up? So anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and show you that. We'll put you back up here now. Fun times. And so that's just part of what we go through every season when we're building new frames. Now, next season, for instance, these babies are already together. I'm going to go ahead and fix these before it becomes a problem. But next season, these frames have already been built. And not only have they been built, we got the foundation wax in there, but we've also gotten them into the hive, and the bees will have built out that comb. So next year, these 250 frames that we're building this year, next year, those are already built. We don't have to build them again. So that actually will be extremely helpful when it comes to producing honey next year. That's less labor that we have to put in. We can actually focus that on other areas that need to be focused on, right? Same with the supers. Now, you do have to replace your equipment from time to time, every few years, every 3 or 4 or 5 years, depending on how well you've kept up with it and how well you maintain it, that sort of thing. You're still going to have to replace it. I mean, let's face it, you've seen us going into the hive. We take what amounts to a pry bar, and sometimes we're digging into that wood. Sometimes, it breaks off. Sometimes, whatever the case is, you're going to lose equipment over the years. So it's going to have to be replaced. But it won't have to be replaced 250 at a time. So we'll replace it as it breaks. Sometimes the hive bodies, even though we paint them and we try to keep them weather protected, it's not, it's wood. You protect your back porch, you still have to protect you still have to replace your back, the wood on your back porch from time to time. It's just going to happen. So we'll have to replace it every now and then, but not all the time. Let's talk about these supers real quick. Now, let's just take you off of this. Probably be easier, and I'll flip it around, that way I can show you. There it goes. Okay, so these supers, real quick, I'll show you the difference in size. There's your deep, and then right below it is your medium. Might be easier to see like that. Yeah, there you go. See? So there's a medium right there, and then there's the deep. So when we're talking about mediums and deeps, that's the size, that's the depth difference that we're talking about, right? These shallower ones, the mediums, we use those as specifically as our honey supers. So there won't be any brood or young bees in them. That will, for the most part, just be honey. As such, we actually, different than the deeps, let me bring this, now that I've put it back up, I'm going to bring it back over here. With the deeps, you can see that it's just wood. We're going to put 10 frames, 10 deep frames in these supers. In our mediums, we actually have installed these little metal spacers. We're only going to be able to fit 9 of the frames in here. I've got a couple of them set up, so there you go. You can see that. And you can see how the spacers keep the uniform distance in between each of those frames. Once upon a time in a previous video, we talked about how when we are extracting honey from the frames, excuse me, we have to cut the caps off of the honey frames, right? They put the nectar in there, they get it to the consistency that they want for the honey. They cap it off to prevent further water from evaporating from that honey. Once they've capped it off, we harvest it, we bring it back, we have to cut the end caps off. Well, this gives them room to build that comb out away from the frame. Makes it easier for us to cut those caps off. Whereas in the deep, where we want her laying eggs, you see, by the way, how much work we have to do. 250 frames is a lot, and that's just one stack. I got another one there and another one there. We got work cut out for us, right? Anyway, so in the deep frame, where our deep super, where she's keeping her brood, we don't want them to build that out anymore because the young only need so much space inside the comb in order to grow to their full size. So we want to make sure that that stays uniform as well. We won't be cutting those caps off, so we give her more frames to lay in. Okay? So there's that. And here's a wider view of the pile of supers, and these are just mediums. Well, okay, I've got that one deep back here in the back, but for the most part, except for that one super, these 4 piles are all mediums. And so we got to fill each of those with frames. But all of this, if everything goes right, all of this will be honey this season, and we are super excited. And that's just from the so far 10 supers, 10 hives that we have. So as we grow, of course, we'll need more and more and more of these. But either way, super exciting. Real quick, by the way, it just occurred to me, in the last video I did, we talked about the Super DFM Plus P801. I stated in that video that we had the inspector come out and certified us as organic. That information was inaccurate. We talked about becoming certified in organic. However, that's not what she was there for. What she came out for was to certify that we have clean and healthy hives and that we were taking care of our bees the way that Kentucky expects you to take care of your bees if you're going to raise bees in this state. Okay, so she came out and did an inspection, but it was just to make sure that we were doing things the way that we needed to be doing them according to the law in Kentucky. So we are not certified organic yet. That is, however, on our list of things to do. There are just some steps that we have to take to make sure that we are in a position to be able to actually make that worthwhile for us. That being said, the state apiarist is coming out. We've had to reschedule. She's coming out now on the 22nd at this point. So we are continuing to make sure that we have our hives inspected. We make sure that we're staying up with code and law and all that other kind of fun stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I corrected that. And let's face it, we talk all the time about the research that I'm doing, the knowledge that I'm gaining, the stuff that I read, all that kind of stuff. So it stands to reason that from time to time, I might get a little bit confused. Sue me. All right. So anyway, let's see, what were we talking about? Okay, so there are those supers. Now, these things are a distinct mark of pride for us. We're really excited about these mating nooks that we have built. We did all of that, measure, cut, all that kind of stuff. We did it ourselves. I think we looked up the dimensions online, but then we went ahead and did what we needed to do here. So what's going to happen with these babies? Let's grab one of these, bring it over to the bench, flip this around, maybe. Yeah. Put you guys back on the tripod here. Oops. There we go. One of the joys of being your own cameraman. All right. So there we go. Now we can look at it as we talk about it, right? So one of the neat things about this is we will take from other hives, from another hive, we will we'll rear the queen, and then once she is in the once they are in, because I'm gonna do probably about 30 of them in the first sitting, and once they are in their queen cells and they have been raised to the point where they get capped off, we'll take each of those individual queen cells, the ones that make it, because let's face it, in some of them, they're not gonna make it. They're gonna be too small. Maybe the larva, even though I got the larva into the queen cell, maybe I damaged it or something like that. There's several things that could go wrong. And so you have to anticipate that of all of the queens that you attempt to raise, you may get about 50% of them. I've never done this before, so I'm anticipating only getting about 30% of them. And that's because I'm trying to be generous to myself. Okay? So, and who knows, maybe I'll do better than I expect. Flip side of that is maybe I'll do worse than I expect. So we don't know until I've already done it. But, so we'll take, and what we're going to do with those is we'll take those cups and we'll attach them to one of these bars that goes into, and then we'll put that inside of the brood chamber of one of the bigger hives, okay? They'll come through, they'll add the royal jelly, they'll raise that larva into queen pupae, they'll cap that off, and then once it's capped off, we'll take those individually and we'll place them inside of one of these, what we call a mating nook, okay? She'll go in there, one queen per nook, and we'll take from the other hives, we'll take nurse bees, and they'll be in here. She'll be born. They'll have their new queen. A few days later, she flies out, she mates with some drones and comes back and starts laying eggs into one of the two frames, because one of the frames is going to be nothing but food, and then one of the frames she'll have the capability of being able to lay eggs in, okay? And then we will have to constantly keep food on the... Oh, but I was creeping myself out being that close to the camera. But we'll have to constantly keep a constant, steady supply of food on top of the mating nook up here. And of course, it'll have a lid, which is back here. We'll keep that food on there, so they will constantly feel like... So one of the frames is going to be pollen. We'll have nectar on top, and then one of the frames will be for her to lay eggs in. And we've only got 16 days, by the way, from the time the egg is laid until the queen is coming out of the queen cell. We've got 16 days. That's how long it takes for a queen to develop. Give or take, depending on food source, temperature, climate, all that kind of stuff. But your average is 16 days. So from the time the egg is laid, we've got 16 days. It takes 2 days for that egg to hatch. So on day 3, we come out, we've got day-old larvae I'll select and we'll raise queens from there. The whole process is extremely exciting. A lot of the stuff that I've been doing online has been just getting involved in like other beekeepers on YouTube, that sort of thing. I've been watching them and see how they do their processes when it comes to raising their own queens, that sort of thing. Because obviously you want to learn from the people that have been doing it, right? So it's okay. We split that part off anyway. I didn't break anything. That said, I'm going to put this down and quit fidgeting. I just lost my train of thought. So anyway, so that's all part of the process, right? So we've got that. We've got some entrances drilled into them. I'm sorry, these aren't entrances. These are vents. We're going to actually cover those up with screening. This just allows for the bees to be able to have air circulating. We actually have bottom boards that we have built specifically. I'm in a shop. Stuff happens. Don't judge me. Specifically for this purpose. So we got these bottom boards. We place the queen rearing nook on top there, right? And then they've got this entrance right down here at the base, which is pretty neat. And then at the top, there you go. And there it is completed, right? So that's pretty neat. Now we don't need the foundation wax for these. We'll actually be using full comb from the hives, the pre-existing comb. We'll be actually using that stuff. The way we're going to set this up is we will have the bees, what they do is they lay their eggs, or she lays her eggs in a super. As she moves up, that super on the bottom, those eggs, they'll hatch, that sort of stuff. Those bees will hatch. And then they come in to that base, and we expect that they put, the expectation for us is the need that we have for them is that they put their pollen source supplements, they put their pollen resources, good grief, into that bottom super. And then that way it's close at hand as they need it to make the food for the young, right? So there it is. And so we'll take that pollen, we'll take one of those pollen frames, stick that in here, give them a frame of capped brood while we wait on the queen to develop. Because, let's face it, we got those nurse bees in there, they need things to do. And taking care of the brood is one of those things. They've got the queen cell, they don't have to worry about making new queen cells. But that capped brood, once it hatches within a couple of days, not only is that a fresh influx of new bees that are able to carry on some of the work that needs to be done inside the hive, but all those cells just got emptied out, and now this freshly born queen, freshly mated queen, has an opportunity to be able to come back and have an immediate place to go ahead and start laying her eggs. We'll watch her for a couple of days to be sure that she's laying well, and then we'll take these two frames, stick them into one of our nook boxes, one of the 5 frames. So we'll give them 3 more frames of space for her to lay, for them to store food. Then we can go ahead and put another one on top of that. And that's our process. Is we'll give them the 5 frame, and then we'll give them another 5 frames up top for them to start storing their own food. And before you know it, we've got ourselves a really strong colony of bees that are now added to our stock. And so we're super excited about all of that. I'm not going to be talking long today, by the way. I know I say that every time and then I end up talking for like an hour plus. But today, I just kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're doing. This is what we hope to do. And then, we'll see in a couple of weeks. But I'm excited because the process of raising a queen is something that we've never attempted. I know I've said that. And this is going to be kind of a my thing to do. And so I'm kind of nervous. And so I kind of talk about it here because I want to be able to come back at it later on and look and say, well, this is what I thought was going to happen. And this is what actually happened. Cool. Now I know. And so moving forward, we're able to improve the way that we approach things. All right, so that being said, that's all I got for the bees. If y'all got any questions, feel free. I'm staring right at my screen, so I'll see them as they come across in the comments, and I'll go ahead and happily address any of the questions that you have. But got a couple other things that I want to talk about real quick as well. I realized today as I was leaving my house to come over here that I was yet again in a GTI t-shirt, Government Training Institute out of Barnwell, South Carolina. My buddy Chris has hopped on here before to watch me talk about bees, and I ended up getting to talk about what they do out there at GTI, because it's pretty exciting stuff. So I mean, they do the training, they work with military police, that sort of thing in training those guys. They also work with civilians, which is pretty exciting. So we talked about that. One of the videos I've got, I reposted it from YouTube. I went ahead and added their website, so if you had any questions, you could go ahead and reach out to them that way. I'll do it again on this one too, because those guys are freaking awesome. Chris especially, I mean, he and I have known each other for several years now, so good friend of mine. He was in my wedding. I mean, come on. Hi, honey. My wife just logged on, for those of you who are wondering why I just developed Tourette's. I didn't. Hi, honey. So anyway, so Chris is a buddy of mine, so I'm wearing his t-shirts again because he's always really cool about, you know, anytime we see each other, and he's like, so how you doing? I'm like, running out of t-shirts, man. He always hooks me up. So I want to thank him for my t-shirts by talking about his company. But I'm also always wearing this particular hat. It's my favorite hat. Love this hat. I actually have 3 hats with this logo on it, but this is the one that I wear all the time. Why? I don't know. I think one day I was getting ready to walk out of the house, and my stepdaughter Addison said, do you know if you wore the green camouflaged hat with what you're wearing now, it would match better? So far be it from me to be out of, style or not match, because, I mean, y'all seen me dress, right? But, so I put that hat on, and I think it has become my favorite. However, so my buddy Emery runs Prime Combat Training, all right? And this is his logo, this is his hat, and he and I, when I was working at the Louisville Armory, he and I worked together quite a bit. I helped him out on his Op 4 team, that sort of thing. But he's the guy that I go to when I get my firearms training. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to my Facebook page, if you're watching this Facebook Live and you're not seeing my Facebook page, anyway, I'm kind of a gun fanatic. I love the guns, all right? I don't own a ton of them, but I don't make a ton of money, so I don't buy a lot of guns. My wife and I have had some disagreements on what we would do if we ever won that lottery that we don't ever play, right? She's got it in her head that we're going to do, I don't know, things. But the idea that, we're going to have a whole room devoted to all of the guns that I'm going to buy, like, she thinks I'm playing. I don't know. Anyway, we'll have that discussion later. It's cool. Hey, honey, I love you. But I do. I love the guns. I love the training. I love spending time with my finger on the trigger. At the Louisville Armory, I was able to do that literally all the time. Haven't been able to get back out there in a while. So I'm really actually kind of excited about being able to get back into that. Their website, LouisvilleArmory.com, they actually have a lot of classes that they do there too. Some great guys. Actually, I see Michael Bell is watching. He's the lead instructor out there. At least he was a couple of months ago. So hopefully you still are, and I'm not like fibbing. But they got some great classes out there, from beginner, intermediate, all the way up to the more advanced stuff. They also do, oh yes, she wants to put all of my guns that I would purchase if we won the lottery that we don't play. She wants to build a gun house at the beach. And I actually would not be I wouldn't be against living at the beach if it was in the gun house that we had because we won the lottery. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, so they do some training. Mike's a great guy. He does he leads the training out there. So you can check out their website. I'll include that actually on this post as well. Emery operates out of Louisville Armory as well, which is nice. You got a firearms instructor, and 20 feet from his office, give or take, I didn't measure it, but 20 feet from his office, he's got a gun range. And so you can, take these classes. He's got a shoot house there. So the DST stuff that they do, the defensive simulation training that they do. I wanted to talk about it, so I went, because he's got a couple of classes coming up and I wanted to talk about them. So I went and found myself a notebook. And I wrote everything down in my notebook. So that's what we got. So he's got this coming Thursday at 6 p.m., he's got a carbine fundamentals. Now, all of this stuff you can find on Facebook, by the way. Just go to search up Prime Combat Training, and his stuff will pop up. You'll see the logo that you should obviously recognize now, and you'll be able to follow him for more information as it comes, because every time he's got classes coming up, he announces those on his on the Facebook page. He's also got a website, same thing, primecombattraining.com, and you can get all that information there. And I think you can actually get merchandise, that sort of thing, that way as well. Not entirely certain about merchandise, so don't quote me on that, but you can talk to him directly about merchandising and he can help you out with that. Thursday, 6 p.m. It's about 4 hours, by the way, the carbine training, carbine fundamentals. You're going to go over all your carbine rifles and pistol fundamentals. Okay, so it's definitely worthwhile. Saturday, he has an Israeli combat training pistol course. Now, all of these courses, by the way, the reason I'm willing to talk about them is because I've done them with him. And I know just how thorough an instructor he is and how passionate he is about what he's training. Same with Chris. I've actually done some training with Chris as well. And so I know how passionate these guys are about the training that they do. All right. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste my breath on them. But the Israeli combat training pistol course is actually pretty nice, because what it does is it puts you in higher stress environments. You go to the gun range and you just stand there and you shoot and you come back and you shoot and you, cool. That's great. You need that platform. But let's face it, if you're ever in a self-defense situation, that's not how it's going to work. So you also want to go to the next level. And the next level is working through a class with Mike or one of the other trainers at the Louisville Armory, or Chris, if you're down there near the Barnwell, South Carolina area, or my buddy Emery here, again here in the Louisville area. He's going to put you through he's going to elevate your stress level and get you comfortable shooting in a high stress situation. And that Israeli combat training course focuses on that. And then on Sunday, 10 a.m., he's got the defensive simulation training, or what you'll hear me say, DST. He's got that coming up Sunday at 10 a.m. And all of these classes, by the way, are available. He has no idea that I'm doing this. Nobody at Louisville Armory knew that I was going to do this. Chris had no idea that I was doing this. I just really love these guys and appreciate the hard work that they put into training. And so I want to show my appreciation to them. So I'm talking to you about getting you some training. And I know you guys are coming from all over the place watching. So these are the people that I know. You can find some folks in your local area that will help teach you firearms as well. Okay. But the defensive training class, now that you actually get to use the UTM rounds, which is just combustion propelled paint rounds. They will leave marks if you have exposed flesh. Ask me how I know. It is super fun. Now, Emery and other instructors that I've worked with in the past, almost all of them are really big on wearing protective gear and all of that other kind of stuff. And the ones that didn't used to be big on protective gear now are big on protective gear. Hey, Casey, how you doing, buddy? So you want to wear the protective gear, you want to have the gloves and all that other kind of stuff, but you'll get all that information is on the website, what you need to do to be able to get yourself protected. So definitely take a look at his Facebook page and get yourself signed up for some of these classes. And if you can't make it to these particular classes, he has classes on a constant cycle. In fact, at LouisvilleArmory.com, not only can you see the classes that the Louisville Armory is offering, but you can also get access to some of the classes that that Emery is using. He is a friend of mine. I forget everybody's name, so he won't take any offense to that. But So you can get access to both of those, okay? So whatever it is, whatever you've got going on, if you're choosing to carry a firearm, then you definitely don't want to just assume, and most people do, by the way, most people just assume, oh, well, I've got my gun, so I can protect myself if blah, 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 blah. That's like saying, I just bought a car, I know how to drive. Really? Really? So make sure that you are taking the time to not only just go to the gun range and put some lead down range, which is absolutely necessary, but learn how to handle that firearm as well. My experience has been that nobody was ever accidentally shot when the person with the gun in their hand knew the gun was loaded. Every time you hear those stories, it's like, well, I thought it was unloaded. I was cleaning it and went off. That's, go learn how to handle that weapon. And these guys that I've talked about at the end of this video, they are amazing at what they do. I trust every single one of them with my own training. So I would certainly trust them with yours as well. Hope you guys have enjoyed talking about the bees, talking about, if you're not, anyway, whatever. So I hope you're enjoying that. If you are not already following me on YouTube, please feel free to go to my YouTube page. You can search me out under Buzzin' Blossoms Bee Farm. Find my page. It's a picture of me holding up a frame of bees, and you should be able to recognize my mug. You'll also recognize my jacket and veil because you've seen me wearing them in other videos. You probably actually saw me in the video where I was holding up that particular, because I just took a still from one of those videos. But go to Buzzin' Blossoms Bee Farm and subscribe to my page. I will post this video from my page, so you'll actually be able to follow that link as well and be able to get to my page. But I would love it if you're not already subscribed to my page. Please subscribe to my page. Feel free to ask me any questions that you want to about the bees. If you've got firearms questions, or if you've got questions about any of this, the training stuff that I talked about at the end of this video, feel free to reach out to me, but do that personally, like send me an IM or YouTube or something like that. Not YouTube. Text message? Yeah, that'll work. Send me a text message or a message on Facebook Messenger, something like that, and I'll be able to respond to it that way. That way we can keep those two separated. Subscribe to the page, like the video. You can also hit the bell beside the subscribe button and be able to get notifications whenever I do come online or post another video to my YouTube page. That way you can actually keep up to date with it. And again, I'll ask you, if there's something that you want to know when it comes to the bees, feel free to reach out to me and let me know that you want to hear about it. You can reach me obviously on Facebook, because that's where most of you are watching me right now. Or you can leave comments on the videos that I post from YouTube. You can send me a messenger, or you can reach out to me on email, hunsuckerbees@gmail.com, and ask me your questions that way. Or give me your comments, statements, that sort of thing. If there's information that you would like to get with regards to the honeybees, I would be more than happy to provide you with those answers. I'd love to do it via these videos, but if not, if it's just a simple question, I can go ahead and address it there. And then maybe talk about it on a video later or something like that. Another idea that I've recently had, talked to a mother that teaches homeschool, or teaches her kids at home. I am wondering if it would be of any benefit. And so for those of you who actually do homeschool with your kids, I would love to hear from you on this idea, because right now it's just kind of percolating. But I'm kind of wondering or if you've got kids in school and they're doing research projects. A lot of folks, I mean, shoot, it got me through every single one of my biology reports that I had to do. Every single year I had to do a biology book report. I always did it on honeybees. So because there's just so much. I mean, you can do it, the biology, the anatomy of it. You can do the economics of it. I mean, like everything, every subject that has anything to do with book reports, you can find something in the honeybees to be able to do that report on. And so I thought about maybe doing a couple of videos that cover some of those subjects, a little bit more kid-friendly kind of stuff. So if you've got school-aged kids, and that's elementary all the way through, honestly, college, because I did a couple of reports when I was in college on the subject of honeybees. So if that's something that might interest you, I'd love to know what some of the questions are that you would need to answer in those reports, in those research projects. So what are those questions? And I'd like to do a video that covers some of those topics with full references and everything to kind of help guide you as you're doing your reports, or as your kids are doing their reports. So if that's something that might interest you, let me know, because I think that would be kind of exciting. Okay. Nobody is popping up any other questions. Casey did say enjoying your new job at GE. Oh, send me a message, Casey. I'd love to hear about that, because last you and I talked, you were at UPS. So yeah, send me a message and let's talk, buddy. As for everybody else, you guys have a great day, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye now.